A week before his birthday, my wife's son said the best gift would be me disappearing. The next day, I closed the joint account and walked away in silence. What I left on that table shocked him, but what I discovered he'd been hiding for years destroyed everything they thought they knew about consequences. My name is Ashton Mercer. I'm 56 years old, and for the last 11 years I've worked as an industrial safety specialist for a manufacturing plant outside Phoenix. It's steady work, good benefits, decent pay. The kind of career that let me provide stability when my wife Rita and her son Austin needed it most. Austin was 19 when Rita and I got married. A kid, really, though he'd never admit it. His biological father Craig had walked out when Austin was 7, leaving Rita to raise him alone on a receptionist salary and whatever child support Craig remembered to send, which wasn't often. I didn't try to replace his father. I just tried to be there, reliable, supportive, present. 11 years later, here's what that got me. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I left work early to pick up Austin's birthday cake. He was turning 30, and Rita had asked if I could make this one special. He's been stressed, she'd said. Between jobs again. Just trying to figure things out. Between jobs. That phrase had become a permanent fixture in our household vocabulary. The bakery near the interstate always smelled like vanilla and butter, even in the parking lot. I'd ordered a simple chocolate cake with dark frosting, Austin's favorite, though he'd probably never mentioned that to me directly. I paid, carried it carefully to my truck, and drove home with the AC on low so the frosting wouldn't melt. Rita's car wasn't in the driveway when I pulled up around 2 o'clock. She'd mentioned something about getting her hair done. Austin's newer Civic sat in its usual spot, the one closer to the house that he'd claimed the day he moved back in 2 years ago. 2 years. The temporary arrangement that became permanent without anyone actually discussing it. I grabbed the cake box and headed inside. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and Austin's voice coming from the living room. He was on his phone, laughing at something. "Hey," I called out, keeping my voice friendly. "Got your cake." He glanced up from the couch, barely making eye contact. "Cool. No thanks." No acknowledgement beyond that single word. I set the box on the kitchen counter and walked back toward the living room. "Your mom mentioned maybe doing something low-key tonight. Dinner, maybe a movie." Austin's thumb stopped scrolling. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something cold settled in his expression. "Actually," he said, his voice taking on an edge I'd heard before, but never quite this sharp. "Since you're asking what I want for my birthday." I waited. He smiled, but there wasn't any warmth in it. Just calculation. "The best gift would be you disappearing." The room went silent, except for the kitchen clock ticking on the wall. I stood there, key still in my hand, trying to process what I just heard. "What did you say?" He shrugged, casual as asking about the weather. "You heard me. You disappearing. Not being here. That'd be the perfect gift." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice level. "Why would you say that?" "Because it's true," he replied, looking back at his phone. "You're always here, always hovering, always acting like you're doing us some huge favor. Maybe if you just weren't around, things would be easier." I wanted to ask easier for who. I wanted to list every morning I'd driven him to job interviews, every utility bill I'd paid without comment, every time I'd bitten my tongue when he treated our home like a hotel. Instead, I smiled. Small, polite. "Okay," I said quietly. "I hear you." That seemed to surprise him. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "Good talk," I added, then turned and walked out of the room. I didn't slam the door, didn't raise my voice, didn't give him the reaction he was probably expecting. I just left. I drove for 20 minutes before I trusted myself to think clearly. Not anger. Not yet. Just this strange, cold clarity that comes when something inside you finally stops pretending. I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot, killed the engine, and sat there staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. Rita. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Austin this time. I turned it face down. The sun was setting behind the strip mall across the street, painting everything in shades of orange and red. Beautiful, really. The kind of evening you'd want to share with someone who appreciated you being there to see it. That thought made me laugh. A short, bitter sound that surprised me. I opened my laptop, always kept it in the truck for site reports and safety documentation. My fingers moved automatically, opening folders I hadn't looked at in months. Years, maybe. There was one labeled Simply House. Inside were subfolders that told a story I'd been too busy living to fully read. Utilities, insurance, auto, medical, miscellaneous. I started with the joint checking account, the one Rita and I shared, the one Austin had access to for emergencies. My paycheck went in every 2 weeks like clockwork, $4,200 after taxes. Good money for Phoenix. I scrolled back through the statements. 1 year, 2 years, 3. The mortgage payment, $1, $8.40 monthly. Always from my account. The note was in my name only, signed before Rita and I married when I'd bought the house outright. She'd moved in with Austin 6 months later. Electric, water, internet, trash service. My account. Every month. Without fail. I opened the auto folder. Austin's car payment, $3.80 monthly. I'd co-signed when he swore he'd landed a steady job at a logistics company. That was 2 years ago. The job had lasted 90 days. The payments hadn't stopped coming out of my account. Insurance for his car. Mine covered both vehicles. $340 monthly total. He drove a 2021 Honda Civic. I drove a 2014 Silverado with 180,000 miles on it. Then I found something that made my jaw tighten. A subfolder titled Medical, Austin. I didn't remember creating it. Must have been during one of those nights when I was organizing expenses for tax season. I opened it and stared. Health insurance add-on, $285 monthly. Dental, $45. Vision, $30. He'd aged out of his biological father's insurance at 26. Just until I get a job with benefits, Rita had said. That was 4 years ago. 4 years at $360 per month. I did the math in my head. $17,280. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I kept digging. The tuition folder was next. Community college courses he'd started and dropped. Online certification programs he'd never completed. Each one came with an apologetic conversation and a promise that this time would be different. Total over the past 6 years, $8,400. The miscellaneous folder was almost worse. Grocery runs where my card was the default payment method. The gym membership he insisted he needed, $1.50 monthly for 2 years. Streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max. All paid from my account because it's easier to keep everything together. I heard footsteps behind me and glanced in the rearview mirror. Just someone heading into the coffee shop. Nobody who mattered. My phone buzzed again. Rita this time, a text. Where are you? Austin said you just left. What happened? I stared at the message for a long moment, then set the phone aside and opened a new spreadsheet. Time to see exactly what disappearing would look like. By the time I finished, it was fully dark outside. The coffee shop had closed. The parking lot was empty except for my truck. The number at the bottom of the spreadsheet glowed on my screen. $127,340. That's what the last 6 years had cost me. Not just in money, but in every bill I'd paid without question, every expense I'd covered without complaint, every time I told myself it was temporary. I saved the file, closed the laptop, and started the engine. Tomorrow morning, I had an appointment to make. At the bank. First thing, I walked into Desert Valley Bank at 8:45 the next morning, 15 minutes before my shift started. I called in sick, first time in 3 years. My supervisor hadn't questioned it. The branch manager, Paul Rodriguez, recognized me immediately. I've been banking there for 12 years, back when this location was just a small office in a strip mall. Ashton, he said, extending his hand. Good to see you. Come on back. His office smelled like fresh coffee and leather. He gestured to the chair across from his desk and settled into his own. What can I help you with today? I pulled out a folder, the one I'd put together last night after finishing my spreadsheet. I need to close the joint checking account, I said, and I need to separate all automatic payments that are tied to my name. Paul's friendly expression shifted slightly. May I ask why? You can, I replied evenly, but it won't change what I need to do. He studied me for a moment, then turned to his computer. All right, let me pull up your accounts. His fingers moved across the keyboard. I see you have joint checking with Rita Mercer, and you're the primary account holder. You're also the primary contributor. Almost all deposits come from your income. I know, I said. Closing this account will affect our access, he continued carefully, and there are automatic payments linked to it. Bills will go unpaid if we don't reroute them. I want them stopped, I said, or moved to accounts I control directly, not shared accounts. Paul leaned back. This is a significant change. Cards will be declined. Services may be interrupted. Good, I said. That's the point. He paused, then asked quietly, Are you sure about this? I met his eyes. My stepson told me the best gift I could give him was disappearing. I'm just following his advice. Paul's expression changed, not dramatically, but enough that I could tell he understood this wasn't a rash decision. Let's go through this carefully, he said. For the next hour, we reviewed everything. Every automatic payment, every linked service, every place where my money had been flowing without my conscious thought. The mortgage stayed with me. It was my house, my name on the deed. Utilities would stay active but under my sole control. Austin's car payment, his insurance, his phone bill, the streaming services, all canceled or transferred off my responsibility. The health insurance was trickier. That'll require contacting your provider directly, Paul explained. But I can stop the automatic payment from this account effective immediately. Do it, I said. When it was done, Paul slid several forms across the desk. I'll need your signature here. And here. He pointed to specific lines. This one revokes authorized user access. Once you sign, Rita and Austin will no longer be able to access this account. I signed without hesitation. There was one other thing, Paul said, checking his screen. There's a pending transaction scheduled for tomorrow. Looks like someone tried to use account verification for a rental application. My hand stopped mid-signature. What kind of rental? An apartment complex. They submitted your account information as proof of funds for a security deposit. He looked up. Did you authorize this? No, I said flatly. I didn't. Then it won't go through, Paul said. The account will be closed before they can process it. I sat back in my chair, processing this new information. Austin had been planning to move out, using my money as collateral, without asking, without even mentioning it. Is there anything else I should know? I asked. Paul hesitated. Just that this is going to cause immediate disruption. Decline cards. Bounce payments. They'll know something's changed within hours. Let them know, I said. I left the bank at 10:30 with a folder full of closure confirmations and a new checking account that only I could access. My next stop was 3 blocks away. Attorney's office. Time to make sure everything I'd just done was properly documented and legally protected. Carol Simmons had handled my will update 5 years ago when I bought the house. She was in her mid-50s, sharp as a knife, with a no-nonsense approach I'd always appreciated. Ashton, she said, standing to shake my hand. It's been a while. What brings you in? I sat down across from her desk and laid out the situation. All of it. The birthday comment. The years of financial support. The bank account I just closed. The rental application I hadn't authorized. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen. First question. Have there been any threats? Any indication this might turn hostile? Not yet, I said. But I expect there will be. She nodded. Smart to get ahead of it. Second question. Are you legally responsible for Austin in any way? Adoption papers, guardianship documents, anything like that? No, I said. He was 19 when his mother and I married. I never adopted him. Never signed anything making me legally responsible. Good, Carol said. That makes this cleaner. You have no legal obligation to support an adult stepchild unless you've explicitly created one through documentation. Generosity doesn't create obligation. I felt something loosen in my chest hearing that said out loud. What about the co-signed car loan? I asked. She winced slightly. That one's trickier. Co-signing means you're equally responsible. If he stops paying, they can come after you. He hasn't made a payment in 22 months, I said. Carol's eyebrows rose. You've been making them? Every month. She wrote something down. We might be able to address that, but it'll require documentation. Do you have records? I pulled out my folder and handed her printed bank statements. She flipped through them, her expression growing more serious. This is substantial, she said quietly. Over 6 years, you've paid $127,340. I finished. I added it up last night. She looked up at me. And they've contributed? Nothing. Not a dollar. Carol leaned back in her chair. Ashton, I need to be clear about something. What you're doing, setting boundaries, protecting your finances, this is completely legal and morally justified. But it's going to feel like warfare to them. I know, I said. They're going to push back. Hard. And they're going to try to make you the villain. She pulled out a document from her desk drawer. This is a formal notice of financial separation. It outlines that you're no longer financially responsible for Austin's expenses, that any shared accounts have been closed, and that future financial arrangements require written agreements. She slid it across the desk. You don't have to use it. But if things escalate, and I think they will, having this documented protects you. It creates a paper trail showing this was deliberate, measured, and legally sound. I took the document and read it carefully. It was exactly what I needed. Clear, factual, unemotional. I'll take it, I said. One more thing, Carol added. Change your passwords. All of them. Bank accounts, email, phone, everything. And check your credit report. Make sure nothing's been opened in your name without your knowledge. That thought hadn't even occurred to me. You think he'd do that? I think desperate people do desperate things, she said. And when you cut off someone who's been dependent on you for years, they get desperate fast. I left Carol's office at noon with the formal notice folded in my jacket pocket and a list of things to do. Change passwords. Check credit report. Document everything. But first, I had one more stop to make. Home. While no one else was there, I needed to get my things. And I needed to leave something behind. On the kitchen table, right where the birthday cake had been. The envelope was already prepared. Inside were account closure notices, the spreadsheet showing exactly what I'd been paying for years, and one handwritten note. You asked me to disappear. This is what that looks like. Everything here is factual. Nothing is meant to hurt, only to be honest. I placed it in the center of the table, weighted it down with my house keys, the spare set, and walked upstairs to pack a bag. I didn't take much. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a few personal items. I left behind everything that connected me to the life I've been living for the past 11 years. The furniture I'd helped pick out, the TV I'd mounted, the tools in the garage. None of it mattered anymore. What mattered was reclaiming what was mine, starting with my dignity. I walked out at 1:30 in the afternoon, locked the door behind me, and drove away. By the time Rita and Austin came home that evening, I was already checked into an extended stay hotel across town, and my phone was off. The voicemail started at 6:47 p.m. I listened to them the next morning over hotel coffee that tasted like burnt cardboard. First was Rita, her voice tight. Where are you? The bank called. They said the account is closed. What's going on? Call me back. Second message. Austin, angrier. What did you do? My car got declined at the gas station. This isn't funny. Call me. Third, Rita again. Ashton, this is serious. Austin's insurance got canceled. The internet's shut off. You need to come home and fix this. Fix this. Those words again. I deleted them all and opened my laptop instead. Carol had told me to check my credit report. I'd done that last night. Everything clean, thank God. But her other advice kept nagging at me. Document everything. I started with photos. I had years of them on my phone, backed up to the cloud. Family dinners. Holidays. The truck I'd helped Austin move with 3 years ago. That's when I noticed something in one of the photos from that move. In the background of his old apartment, stacked against the wall, was my grandfather's toolbox. The red Craftsman chest I'd inherited when he passed. I zoomed in. Definitely mine. I remembered setting it in the garage when I moved into the house, right next to my father's drill press. When had Austin borrowed it? I didn't remember him asking. I scrolled through more photos. A birthday party from 2 years ago. There in the corner of one shot, my father's vintage record player. The one he'd given me before he died. I kept on a shelf in my home office. I noticed it was gone last year, but Rita had said Austin must have moved it somewhere safe during spring cleaning. My hand started shaking. I opened a new browser tab and typed Craigslist Phoenix tools. It took me 15 minutes of scrolling before I found it. Posted 3 months ago. Vintage Craftsman tool chest, excellent condition, $400 OBEO. Serious inquiries only. The photo showed my grandfather's toolbox. Same dent on the left corner. Same stickers I put on it in high school. Seller's name, A. Palmer. Palmer was Rita's maiden name. The name Austin still used. I kept searching. Another listing, 7 months old. Vintage record player, 1970s, works great, $150. My father's record player. My chest felt tight. I searched sold listings, expanded the date range. Pneumatic drill set, my uncle's, that he'd left me, $275. Sold 10 months ago. Fishing gear, my collection from 20 years of trips to Roosevelt Lake, $180. Sold a year ago. My grandfather's coin collection. The one in the leather binder he'd started in 1952. Listed for $600. Sold 14 months ago. I sat back, staring at the screen, and did the math. Over $2,000 worth of my property. Things with sentimental value I couldn't put a price on. Sold on Craigslist like they were his to sell. How many other things were gone that I hadn't noticed yet? I grabbed my keys and drove to the house. Rita's car was gone. Wednesday. She always had lunch with her sister. Austin's Civic sat in the driveway. I let myself in quietly. The envelope was still on the table, unopened. I went straight to the garage. My grandfather's toolbox gone. My uncle's drill press gone. The camping gear I bought before Rita and I were married gone. I walked upstairs to my office. The shelves where I'd kept my father's things looked bare. Books missing. The humidor my dad had given me. Empty space where it had been. I checked the closet in the spare bedroom. The vintage baseball cards I collected since I was 12, stored in boxes, gone. My hands curled into fists. Not from anger. From something colder. He'd been stealing from me for years. Piece by piece. Selling my memories to fund whatever he needed that week. And Rita had either known or hadn't cared enough to stop him. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every empty space. Documentation, like Carol had said. Then I heard footsteps downstairs. "Hello." Austin's voice called out. "Who's here?" I walked to the top of the stairs. He was standing in the entryway, holding a fast food bag, frozen when he saw me. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "I live here," I said evenly. "Or did you forget?" His jaw tightened. "Mom said you left." "I did," I replied. "I came back for something." "What?" I descended the stairs slowly. "Where's my grandfather's toolbox, Austin?" His face went carefully blank. "What?" "The red Craftsman chest. The one that was in the garage." "Where is it?" "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and showed him the Craigslist listing. "This is you. A. Palmer. That's your posting." He glanced at it, then shrugged. "That old thing. It was just taking up space. Just taking up space." My grandfather's tools. The last thing I had from him. And my father's record player. I asked quietly. My uncle's drill set. The coin collection. Were those all just taking up space too? "You weren't using them." Austin shot back. "They were just sitting there. They weren't yours to sell," I said, my voice low and controlled. "None of it was yours." He took a step forward, chest puffed out. "You got plenty of money. You could buy new stuff." "That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" he snapped. "You want to keep playing victim? You want everyone to feel sorry for you?" I stared at him for a long moment. "No. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You stole from me. You sold my property. And now you're going to deal with what happens next." "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked. But I could hear the uncertainty creeping into his voice. "It means the free ride's over," I said. "Permanently." I walked past him, got in my truck, and drove back to the hotel. That afternoon, I filed a police report for theft. Provided the Craigslist listings, the photos, everything. The officer taking my statement looked sympathetic. "This is family. Stepson," I said. He nodded slowly. "That complicates things. But theft is theft. We'll follow up." When I left the station, I felt something settle in my chest. Not satisfaction, just clarity. He'd taken my past, my memories, the pieces of my family I'd held on to. But he couldn't take my future. Not anymore. The call came 2 days later. Friday afternoon. I was reviewing safety reports at my desk when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Ashton Mercer?" a woman's voice asked. "Speaking. This is Jennifer Torres from Phoenix Family Court. I'm calling regarding Austin Palmer." My stomach dropped. "What about him?" "We have a child support case filed here. You're listed as a party of interest because you've been making payments on Mr. Palmer's behalf." I set down my pen. "I think there's been a mistake. I haven't made any child support payments." There was a pause. "According to our records, automatic payments have been coming from an account ending in 4782. That's your account number, correct?" It was. Or it had been, before I closed it. "What payments?" I asked carefully. "Monthly child support payments of $380. They've been consistent for the past 4 years. $380. The exact amount of Austin's car payment." "There's a child?" I asked. Another pause. "You didn't know?" "No," I said flatly. "I didn't know." Jennifer's voice softened slightly. "Mr. Palmer has a daughter. She's 4 years old. He was ordered to pay support 4 years ago when paternity was established. The mother, Kayla Frost, filed modification papers last week because the payments stopped. I closed my eyes. For years, Austin had a 6-year-old daughter, and I'd been paying for her without knowing it. What address do you have for those payments? I asked. She gave me the routing information. It matched the joint account I closed, the one Austin had access to, the one he'd set up automatic transfers from without telling me. Ms. Torres, I said slowly, I closed that account this week. I had no knowledge of this child or these payments. I was under the impression I was paying for Austin's car. I see, she said. There was typing in the background. Do you wish to continue making these payments? No, I said. I'm not legally responsible for Austin's child support. That's his obligation. Understood. I'll note that in the file. The account will be flagged as closed, and Mr. Palmer will need to make other arrangements. Thank you for your time. She hung up. I sat there staring at my computer screen, not seeing it. Austin had a daughter, 6 years old. He'd hidden her existence from everyone in our family for 6 years, and he'd been using my money to pay for her, not from guilt or responsibility, from convenience. My phone rang again. Rita this time. I answered. You need to come home, Rita said immediately. Her voice was shaking. Austin just told me something important. About his daughter? I asked. Silence. Then, I just found out, I said. From the family court. Because the child support payments I didn't know I was making have stopped. Ashton, Rita started. Did you know? I interrupted. Not until today, Rita said quickly. He just told me. He was scared. He didn't know how to. He knew how to set up automatic payments from my account. I cut in. He knew how to hide it for 4 years. He just didn't know how to be honest. He made a mistake, Rita insisted. He was young. He panicked. The girl's mother, Kayla, she told him she'd handle everything if he just paid support. He didn't want to bring drama into our family. So he brought theft instead. I said. That's not fair, Rita shot back. You're twisting this. No, I said. I'm finally seeing it clearly. He's been lying to everyone, using me, and you're still defending him. He's my son, she said, her voice rising. What do you want me to do? Abandon him. I want you to hold him accountable, I replied. But you never have. And that's why we're here. There was a long silence. Where are you staying? Rita asked finally, quieter now. That doesn't matter. Ashton, please. Just come home. We could talk about this. Work it out. There's nothing to work out, I said. I'm done being the solution to problems I didn't create. So that's it, she asked. 11 years of marriage, and you're just walking away. You're the one who let your son steal from me, I said. You're the one who defended him when he told me to disappear. This isn't me walking away, Rita. This is me finally understanding I was never really here to begin with. Not in the way that mattered. I heard her breath catch. The envelope's still on the table, I said. Read it. Look at the numbers. Then ask yourself honestly, was I family, or was I just useful? I ended the call. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Kayla, Austin's baby mama. If you're the stepdad who was paying his support, thank you. He never told me someone else was covering it. Now he says he can't pay and I should come after you. I told him that's not how it works. Sorry you got dragged into his mess. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, not your fault. Good luck getting what your daughter deserves. She sent back a simple, thanks. Austin had a daughter he'd hidden. He'd stolen from me to pay for her. And when the money stopped, his first instinct was to throw me under the bus to her mother. That told me everything I needed to know about who he really was. And who I refused to be anymore. Monday morning, unknown Phoenix number. I answered. Ashton Mercer? A man's voice, smooth and practiced. Who's asking? Craig Palmer. Austin's father. I went still. The man who'd walked out when Austin was 7. The one Rita described as unreliable, barely present in his son's life. What do you want? I asked. Heard about what's happening, Craig said. You cutting Austin off like that? Pretty cold, man. He's family. He told me to disappear, I replied. I'm just following his advice. Come on, Craig continued. He's going through stuff. Lost his job, got child support now. Maybe you could help until he's back on his feet. He told you he lost his job? I asked carefully. Yeah, budget cuts. Not his fault. I pulled up my documentation folder. Craig, do you know why Austin really lost his job at Desert Logistics? Silence. He was fired for theft, I said. Caught taking equipment from the warehouse and selling it. They have him on camera. Lucky they didn't press charges. I'd called Desert Logistics Saturday. Their HR manager had been very clear about the termination. How do you? Craig started. I verified it. I interrupted. So, before you lecture me about family, understand that your son has a pattern. Theft from his employer. Theft from me. All documented. Craig's voice hardened. What do you want me to do about it? Step up, I said. He has a father. That's you. Not me. I filled a role you abandoned. But I'm done now. Your turn. You self-righteous. I hung up. 5 minutes later, Rita texted. Craig called. Said you were rude. Why bring him into this? I typed back. He called me. Asked me to keep funding Austin. I said that's your ex-husband's job now. Her response came fast. Craig hasn't been in Austin's life for 20 years. You can't dump this on him. Watch me. I called Carol immediately. Austin's biological father just contacted me. I said, trying to guilt me into continuing support. Did you record it? Carol asked. No. Should I have? Arizona's one-party consent. Going forward, record everything. She paused. The theft from his employer. Documented. HR confirmed when I called. I took notes. Perfect. That establishes pattern of behavior. Carol's tone shifted. Ashton, things are going to escalate. Be ready. That afternoon, Derek, Rita's brother, called me. Hey man, wanted to ask you something, I said. Did you know Austin was fired for theft? Derek sighed heavily. Yeah, he told me months ago. Swore me to secrecy. Said he'd fix it before Rita found out. Did she know? I don't think so. Austin's always been good at hiding stuff. Since he was a kid, he'd steal from Rita's purse. Small amounts. She'd blame herself. I caught him once when he was 16. He begged me not to tell. Did he stop? No. Derek said quietly. Just got better at it. Look, I love my sister, but she's got blinders when it comes to him. Someone needs to hold him accountable. That evening, my work HR called. Margaret, from Human Resources. Ashton, we need to discuss something sensitive, she said carefully. We received a message through our company's social media. Someone claiming to be family says you're experiencing mental health issues, that you've abandoned your family and might be dangerous. My stomach dropped. That's false. I figured, Margaret said, but policy requires follow-up. Are you okay? I explained the situation briefly. Financial separation. Theft. Lies. This sounds like harassment, Margaret said. Document everything. And Ashton, check your social media. I opened Facebook for the first time in weeks. My heart sank. Someone had created a fake profile using my name and photo. The fake profile looked real. My name. My photo from a work event 3 years ago. The bio read, going through tough times. Feeling lost. Post dated over 3 days. Can't sleep. Can't think straight. Everything feels pointless. Family doesn't understand. Maybe they'd be better off without me. Made bad decisions. Don't know how to fix them. At the end, each had sympathetic comments from strangers. People offering help, asking if I was okay. Then yesterday's post. Work isn't the same. Can't focus. Boss worried. Don't know what to do. That's why HR called. Someone sent them this profile. I screenshot everything and reported it to Facebook. Identity theft. Harassment. Then I called Carol. Someone created a fake profile, I said, voice tight, making me look suicidal. Contacted my work with it. Forward everything, Carol said immediately. This is defamation. Criminal harassment. We'll need a subpoena for IP addresses to prove it wasn't you. I posted on my real Facebook account. Someone created a fake profile using my name and photo. Posts about mental health issues are not from me. I am fine. This is harassment, and reported to authorities. Comments came fast. Work friends saw that. Thought it was weird. Colleagues. Got friend request yesterday. Deleted it. My cousin. Someone messaged from that account asking for money. Asking for money. My jaw clenched. I call my bank. I need a freeze on all accounts. Possible fraud using my identity. Then called Phoenix Police, added to my existing report. Identity theft. Online impersonation. That evening, message from Austin's account. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't make any fake profile. You're paranoid. This is why everyone's worried. I screenshot it and sent to Carol. Her response, don't engage. Let me handle this. 20 minutes later, message from Craig Palmer's account. My son says you're making crazy accusations. Maybe you need help. Mental health is serious. No shame in admitting you're struggling. I stare at that message. Craig and Austin, working together, building a narrative that I was unstable. Why? Then I understood. If they convinced people I was mentally ill, they could discredit everything. The theft, lies, abuse, all dismissed as paranoid delusions. It was calculated, strategic. I called Carol back. They're coordinating, trying to paint me as unstable. Darvo, Carol said. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Classic manipulation. But they're documenting their own crimes. Every fake profile, every false report, all traceable. My supervisor, Tom, called that evening. Got a strange call today, Tom said. Someone claiming to be your stepson. Said you're having a crisis. That you might cause problems at work. Tom, I'm not having crisis, I said steadily. I'm being harassed because I stopped paying his bills. Everything he said is a lie. Figured, Tom said. You've been solid 3 years. Just needed to hear it from you. And Ashton? Document everything. My ex tried this during our divorce. Backfired when truth came out. After hanging up, I listed everyone contacted. Work, family, Facebook friends. Austin was destroying my reputation systematically. Trying to isolate me. Make me look unstable, so no one would believe my truth. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd left a trail. Messages, calls, fake profiles. All documented. All traceable. Tomorrow morning, another meeting with Carol. Time to turn defense into offense. 2 weeks later, Austin filed a lawsuit against me. Carol called me Wednesday morning. They're suing you for emotional distress and financial abandonment, claiming you created a hostile environment that damaged Austin's mental health. I almost laughed. Financial abandonment? That's not a real thing. It's not, Carol agreed. But they filed it anyway. Craig's name is on the paperwork too. He's claiming parental alienation. Says you interfered with his relationship with Austin. He hasn't had a relationship with Austin for 23 years, I said. I know. This lawsuit is frivolous. But we still have to respond. Carol's tone shifted. Here's the good news. In discovery, they'll have to provide financial records, bank statements, tax returns, all the things they don't want us to see. What do you mean? I mean, we're going to find out exactly where your money went, Carol said. Every dollar. And we're filing a countersuit. Theft, fraud, defamation, everything. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, Carol subpoenaed everything. Austin's bank records, his online selling accounts, his credit card statements. What we found was worse than I'd imagined. Over the past 3 years, Austin had sold over $8,000 worth of my property. Tools, collectibles, family heirlooms. Everything documented on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. He'd also taken out 3 payday loans using my address. Never paid them back. Collection agencies had been calling the house for months. And the fraudulent use of my account for his rental application? That apartment he'd been planning to move and it cost $1,800 monthly. He told the landlord he made $65,000 annually. His actual income last year? $11,400. He was going to rent an apartment he couldn't afford using your money as collateral, Carol explained. When he couldn't pay, you'd either bail him out or his credit would tank. Except he doesn't care about credit because he's never paid for anything himself. We also discovered something about Craig. He'd been in contact with Austin for 6 months before showing up. Text messages showed they'd been planning something. Craig's message from 2 months ago. When he cuts you off, play victim. Make him look unstable. I'll back you up. We can get a lawyer. Say he owes you for emotional damages. Austin's response. You think that'll work? Craig. Work with my last ex got $15,000 settlement. Easy money. They'd been running a con. Together. Carol filed for sanctions. This is fraud on the court. They planned this lawsuit as extortion. The judge agreed. Austin in Craig's case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning they couldn't refile. Then our countersuit went forward. At the hearing, Austin showed up in a borrowed suit, looking nervous. Craig sat beside him, suddenly quiet without his swagger. Carol presented everything. The stolen property listings. The fake profile IP addresses traced to Austin's phone. The fraudulent rental application. The text messages between Craig and Austin planning the lawsuit. Austin's attorney, a public defender who looked exhausted, tried arguing that Austin was young and made mistakes. Your Honor, Carol said, the defendant is 30 years old. He systematically stole from my client for years. He committed identity theft. He attempted fraud. These aren't mistakes. This is a pattern of criminal behavior. The judge reviewed the evidence for what felt like hours. Finally, he looked up. Mr. Palmer, I'm ordering you to pay restitution of $8,000 for the stolen property. I'm also granting a permanent restraining order. You are not to contact Mr. Mercer or come within 500 feet of his residence or workplace. Austin's face went pale. As for Mr. Craig Palmer, the judge continued, you're included in this restraining order. Your text messages show clear intent to defraud. If either of you violate this order, you'll face criminal charges. Craig started to protest. The judge cut him off. We're done here. Outside the courthouse, Carol turned to me. It's over. You won. But I didn't feel victorious. Just tired. That evening, I got an email from Rita. First contact in 3 weeks. I read the court documents. I didn't know about most of this. I'm sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed back. I believe you didn't know everything. But you knew enough. You chose to look away. That was your choice. This is mine. I hit send and closed my laptop. Tomorrow, I'd start looking for my own place. Something small. Something mine. The hotel had served its purpose. But it was time to build something permanent. Something no one could take from me. 4 months later, I stood in the driveway of my new townhouse in Scottsdale. 2 bedrooms, small garage, quiet neighborhood. The deed had my name only. The moving truck had left an hour ago. Boxes filled the living room, but they were all mine. My furniture, my belongings, my life. My phone buzzed. Derek, Rita's brother. Hey man, heard you closed on a place. Congrats. Thanks, I said. It's good to have my own space. Listen, Derek said, I want to tell you something. Rita filed for divorce last month. I sat down on the front steps. How's she doing? Struggling. She moved into a small apartment. Austin's living with Craig now. Believe it or not. Those two deserve each other. Derek paused. She knows she messed up. Doesn't expect forgiveness. Just wanted you to know she understands now. What about Austin? Got a job at a warehouse. Lasted 2 weeks before they fired him for showing up late. He's Craig's problem now. Derek laughed without humor. Kayla, the mother of his daughter, took him to court. He owes $22,000 in back support. Judge garnished his wages. Good, I said. That child deserves better. She does. Derek was quiet for a moment. You doing okay? Yeah, I said, looking at my new house. Better than I've been in years. At work, things had improved. Tom promoted me to senior safety specialist with a raise. My reputation among contractors remained solid. Everyone had seen through Dane and Craig's attempts at sabotage. The health scare that had worried me, my blood sugar levels, turned out manageable. Type 2 diabetes, caught early. With medication and diet changes, my doctor said I'd be fine. It was almost funny. Austin had tried to access my medical records to find ammunition, but all he would have found was a treatable condition. I'd also reconnected with old friends I'd neglected during my marriage. Weekly poker games, weekend hiking trips, simple things I'd stopped doing because I was always home, always available, always waiting to be needed. One Saturday, I ran into Rita at a grocery store. We both stopped, awkward. Hi, she said quietly. Hi, your place looks nice, she said. Derek showed me pictures. Thanks. She shifted her shopping basket. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. I let Austin manipulate me. I enabled him. I should have protected you. Yeah, I said. You should have. She nodded, eyes wet. I hope you find someone who treats you right. You deserve that. I hope you find yourself, I replied. Figure out who you are without Austin defining it. We parted ways. No hugs. No promises to stay in touch. Just two people who'd shared a life and learned hard lessons. That evening, I sat on my back patio with a beer, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and red. My grandfather's tools were gone. My father's record player was gone. My uncle's equipment was gone. But I still had their lessons, their values, their strength. They taught me that a man's worth isn't measured by what he provides for people who don't respect him. It's measured by his integrity when standing alone. I'd spent 11 years trying to earn respect through generosity. I'd finally learned that respect can't be bought, only demanded. And sometimes, the strongest thing a man can do isn't holding on. It's knowing when to let go. I raised my beer to the sunset. This one's for me, I said quietly. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough.